Too delicious to live. I'm Jason Horton.
I'm Rebecca Lieb.
And this is Ghost Town.
You know, Wendy's Superbar is great for families because there's something for everyone. Like our fresh salads from our garden spot, Mexican food, including do-it-yourself tacos, and delicious pasta with your choice of sauce. There's even dessert. And you can come back as often as you like. Plus, right now our Superbar is an even better value.
Because every day after 4 p.m., Wendy's all-you-can-eat and drink Superbar is just $3.99.
Gee, it must be 4 o'clock.
So I was thinking a lot about buffets as we open up, as restaurants reopen, as we go out into the world. And I grew up on buffets. I remember going in high school to like karaoke night at the Old Country Buffet. And I was thinking a lot about my favorite buffets. So let's go back to a time when we could stuff ourselves with lots of low-grade foods. It was fun. It had variety. They were good times. And we're going to talk about my favorite buffet of all time, the Wendy's Superbar. Ill-fated buffet, and I don't think we talk a lot about how things are too successful and fail. So in the 1980s, Wendy's was doing great, as you might imagine. It was founded by Dave Thomas in 1969 in Columbus, Ohio, as a little background. By the 80s, Wendy's was everywhere. It was all over the US. It was in Australia, the Philippines, Germany, Singapore, South Korea, expanding still. But in 1986, profits kind of slowed down. Wendy's didn't expect this, so as a response, it restructured its cleanliness standards, menu, and other operational details to ensure that the stores and franchises would still be in the mix. The slowdown might have been from a trend towards a little bit more upscale dining, more of a variety in fast food options than we'd ever had before. Who knows? But Wendy's decided to make some big changes, one of which was the Superbar. Other restaurants like York Steakhouse and Ponderosa Steakhouse, which I frequented quite a bit.
My first job was at a Ponderosa Steakhouse when I was 14 years old.
Oh my God, were you a bellboy?
No, I wasn't a bellboy. I was a bellman.
Oh my God.
I watched somebody dump over a thing of rice, scoop, like somebody that worked there, scoop it back up and put it in the canister and then put it on the buffet.
That's disgusting.
Ponderosa.
Truly. I remember it well, though. Loved it. Loved a Ponderosa steak. So, you know, there were bigger buffets coming out and Wendy's took notice. Wendy's was already offering a potato bar, which was exactly what you'd expect. A baked potato loaded up with chili, shredded cheese, bacon bits. Love a bacon bit. Cheese sauce, steamed broccoli. If you're nasty. The usual. But Wendy's wanted more. One of their changes was getting in that sweet spot, that all-you-can-eat game. In 1988, Wendy's introduced its new restaurant feature, the Superbar, with unlimited seconds, as the commercial states. It started at only $2.99 for kids, or as an add-on, and went up to $4.99 for the full, unadulterated Superbar experience. And even for this time period that is so cheap, insanely cheap. So what could you expect at the Superbar as a 1980s Wendy's superfan? Well, it was predominantly a salad bar. So you have your salad bar fixings, which looked a lot like burger fixings, pickles, shredded lettuce, tomatoes. But also with the salad, there were other different cuisines that you never find at a Wendy's with fun section names. So the salad part was called the Garden Spot. There was also a pasta station called Pasta Pasta and a Mexican station called the Mexican Fiesta. Pasta Pasta had rotini and spaghetti pastas and both tomato and Alfredo sauce, and you could load up on the garlic breadsticks, which were just like toasted, sliced burger buns. This was the 80s. Low buffet expectations. The Mexican Fiesta section was a taco bar with refried beans, rice, and taco meat, which was basically just overcooked hamburger meat that they didn't use in the very delicious Wendy's chili. You could get hard shell tacos. You could get a warm, soft tortilla. That was the Fiesta. But the best part by far was the little dessert part, which was kind of shoved at the end of the Garden Spots. Once you filled up on veggies, you go to those soft serve dispensers that are really at any buffet.
Which has 100% ice cream, all natural
Yes,
ingredients.
Very creamy, eggs, sugar, milk. No. You would just get two giant troughs full of chocolate and vanilla pudding. They weren't even, they were barely, it was like a pudding ice cream hybrid. I don't know what it was. To this day, I can't say what that dessert was and how much I ate of it. Then there were also signs and flyers that I found. I forget where they were, but they were essentially just an explainer for how to use the bar. So you put your sauce on the pasta, you put meat inside of the tortilla and roll it up to make a burrito. And then, you know, if you wanted to make a salad, you would put veggies on a plate. A fun little addition. At the time, too, which I also remember very vividly, Wendy's had their signature atriums, which do not exist anymore. You could grab a pile of food and go sit in a room with giant windows and this strange kind of triangular sunroof, and there were lots of like creeping vines around. So you could almost feel like you weren't maybe in a disgusting fast food restaurant. I don't want you to forget that, but I do need you to take a little break. So we're back. We've stuffed ourselves on all kinds of Wendy's foods. And so did everyone else. It was insanely successful. People would stay there for hours just chowing down for $2.99, hanging in the glass food menagerie, just making a day of their Wendy's experience. Says Aubrey Williams in her Medium article about the Superbar. Every day after school, the neighborhood kids and I would scrounge up $3 and begin the epic one-block journey through the Pep Boys parking lot into a place that held some of our fondest after-school memories. If we couldn't find the $3 in our starter jacket or elastic waist sweatpants pockets, no problem. We could usually find it on the ground in many parking lots that surrounded that specific Wendy's. We decided to make a friendly competition out of who could eat the most plates. Not trying to brag, but I would clock in at 14 to 15 ppv, that's plates per visit, every time, which breaks down to about 19 cents a plate. I would pile my plates high. And then, only when we were satiated or feeling borderline sick to our stomachs, that the day's champion was named. Again, don't want to brag here, but it was usually yours truly. We'd walk slower than we did before back to our houses, just in time for family dinner. That's right, we ate again almost immediately because true champions don't back down. The Superbar was insanely successful. People ate at it, flocked to it. Big part of the Wendy's restaurant experience, but by 1998, Wendy's couldn't handle it. They got rid of the Superbar. While some of it was repurposed food from the menu, most of it was not. You know, most of it was stuff they had to make themselves, aside from what people would order from the regular menu. I can't imagine too many people wanted Alfredo on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. It was also just a gigantic amount of work for the employees to keep refilling the bar, to keep it clean. You know, something I'm sure everyone remembers from a buffet is how disgusting it can get with the drippings and rogue lettuces. So after 10 years of bleeding Wendy's dry of its chocolate pudding, ice cream, whatever, it was no longer profitable to keep the Superbar going. Some Wendy's just downsized to a salad bar, but most got rid of it altogether. All Superbars turned salad bars were permanently discontinued in 2006, which is very late, in my opinion.
Are you sure you didn't write that Medium article?
I can't be so sure, but I did find a lot of change on the ground on the way to Wendy's.